One of the most common questions that people ask me about using solution-focused brief therapy is, what do you do with client problems? I mean, just because the therapist is solution-focused doesn't mean the client has to be. So very often when the client comes into the therapy session, they are prepared and ready to talk about their problem, and that's understandable. So it's a really good question. The client comes into therapy and I say, what do you best heard from our talking, which is the way we open up sessions when we're using solution-focused brief therapy. So what do you do when the client's response to that is problem focused? So for example, sit down with the client and I say, what do you best heard from our talking? And the client says, I struggle with bipolar disorder. And here's what I'll say to that question. I think I'll answer that in two ways. Number one, we don't ignore our client's problem. I mean, I think that's a common misconception about solution-focused brief therapy, is that we ignore the client's problem because we're focused on solutions. It's not true. If my client tells me about a problem, it is my job to use the language that the client brought to the therapy session, whether that language is about the problem or not. But remember, if the client brought a problem into the session, that means they also brought something else with the problem into the session. They brought their coping, they brought their strength, they brought their resilience. You can't have a problem without also having the parallel story of, I've coped with this problem, I've done these things in the presence of the problem. So you use the language that the client brought. Like, for example, I worked with this client once. I said, what do you best hope from our talking? And he talked about his drinking. He said, I think I'm an alcoholic, I can't stop drinking. And then he told me all these things like, it's cost me years of happiness with my family, and he was also scared. I'm afraid it's going to cost me even more. I mean, this was a real struggle for this man. But the other thing that was kind of the parallel story is he had also built a successful business in the presence of this drinking, or while he was dealing with this drinking. He had also acquired a very advanced degree while dealing with his drinking. So there was this other stuff that he brought in along with the problem. So I could ask him, how did you do those things while drinking was this big problem in your life? And he tells me that I'm also hardworking. I'm also very focused. I'm also in a list of all these positive things, which means I get to ask him, suppose you woke up and you were more of those positive things were leading your life, and the drinking was playing a less and less role. What's the first thing you would notice? And we start to re-describe him as someone who's capable of these wonderful things, that he was so focused on the problem, he'd forgotten that he was all these wonderful things. Maybe the most proud possession I own was a year later that man came to my office and gave me his year sobriety chip and talked about how it all started with remembering that he was so much more than just a drinker. So when you're out there and you're thinking that solution-focused brief therapy is an approach just not about the problem, remember, that's not true. We use the language our client brings to us, and if they bring us the language of a problem, we use it while remembering you might have brought the problem, but you brought so much more along with you. So I hope you liked this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. I'll see you next time.